we're very proud of. It's taken us 200 years to truly be treated in such respect, and it's a long journey we've been on, and I know First Nations, it's common.
Tonight, the money's on the table. The Liberals are ready to shell out $18 billion for Indigenous groups, but who gets what and who doesn't is still an issue.
When you watch that video, it traumatizes you. When my wife was watching that video, she started tearing up. Is this for real?
More fallout from that violent arrest at a Saskatoon FreshCo store.
Two of my sisters have died, and due to violence.
And a new safe house sheltering women and girls opens in Canada's largest Indigenous community. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. We begin in Ottawa, where yesterday the Liberal government released its largest budget to date, introducing over $100 billion in new expenditures. Deputy Prime Minister announced $18 billion in spending for Indigenous people. But as Jamie Pashgumscum shows us, Indigenous leaders have mixed reactions.
Native Women's Association of Canada President Lauren Whitman is cautiously optimistic, but finds the budget is vague and has questions.
Are they doing gender-based, analysis? How are they, having the dollars be put out? I guess that's where I'm at. And this distinction-based, what does it mean? The approach, how is it taken by the government? And what are the barriers or limitations, that could be presented to the Indigenous women living off reserve?
Off-reserve Indigenous people is a concern shared by the National Association of Friendship Centres, who say there isn't anything that provides for them.
Their physical geography should not prevent them from being able to access supports and services that are otherwise available to their family members, to their community members. And we know that there is huge needs in our communities, and we're happy for every support that our family members and our kin get. But just making sure that we're not inadvertently creating a larger gap for Indigenous people living in urban settings.
David Chartrand of the Métis National Council also has some concerns, but is glad to finally see so much distinctions-based national spending focused on the often left-out Métis.
That we're very proud of. It's taken us 200 years to truly be treated in such respect, and it's a long journey we've been on. And I know First Nations, it's common, they know. They've been there a long, long time, and so is the Inuit, so I commend them. But for us, it's really big to be referenced in that fashion.
Chartrand gives Trudeau's budget an A+ grade and commends the government for working together on a nation-to-nation basis. Jamie Pashgumscum, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Traditional Six Nations chiefs are calling for an end to all development on disputed territory, doubling down on their support for an ongoing land occupation in nearby Caledonia. APTN's Brett Forrester has the latest.
With the occupation of the Mackenzie Meadows construction site entering month 10, on Wednesday, Haudenosaunee traditional chiefs issued a moratorium calling for an end to all development on disputed land along the Grand River watershed in southern Ontario.
The Haudenosaunee Confederate Chiefs Council endorses and supports and recognizes that development should not be proceeding on our lands. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy Chiefs, as chiefs and clan mothers, continue to support the efforts and stand behind our people who are protecting our land rights.
Seasons have come and gone, and so have tire fires, skirmishes with the police, and several blockades. The operation cost provincial police more than $16 million, money that occupation spokesperson Skylar Williams says could have been better spent.
To spend $90,000 a day in order to police that, which could have been remedied with a $60 in gas from Queen's Park, or maybe $100 in gas round trip from Ottawa. There was an easy pathway forward here.
Hamilton NDP MP Matt Green threw his support behind the chiefs, saying the government and developers should prove they own the land.
That until these governments, until these developers can provide clear title to these lands, then they are in fact engaging in a de facto dispossession and land theft.
And the developers are trying to do just that, suing everyone involved for $200 million in Superior Court and requesting, quote, an order directing that Ontario and Canada confirm that the lands are not subject to a land claim by any Indigenous group, including any member of the Six Nations of the Grand River. But the traditional chiefs don't acknowledge Canadian jurisdiction, and Chief Deo Waito expects little justice from the courts.
Our people will never win nothing in their courts. The courts are made for them. They're made to. The courts are set up to take our land, to steal our land. That's where the big problem lies.
A big problem it is indeed, and one with no end in sight. Brett Forster, APTN National News, Ottawa.
To the Yukon now, where last week's election is shaping up to be one of the most unique elections in the territory. After an unprecedented tie between the Liberals and the NDP in the least populated riding, a winner has been chosen through a random draw. Here's APTN Sarah Connors with the latest.
Yesterday, Yukon NDP candidate Annie Blake was declared MLA for Vuntut-Gwitchin, the Yukon's least populated riding, after a judicial recount resulted in a drawing of lots out of a box between herself and Liberal Cabinet Minister Pauline Frost. The draw came after a 78-vote tie between the two candidates. The Yukon NDP now has 3 seats in the Legislative Assembly, and the Liberals and Conservative Yukon Party are both tied with 8. And with 10 seats needed to gain a majority government, that means there's still no official winner of the election as of yet. Yesterday, Liberal leader Sandy Silver announced he plans to form the territory's next government despite the results in Vuntut-Gwitchin. And with the incumbent party typically awarded the first attempt at forming a government when there's a tie of votes, it's likely a Liberal minority government will be in store. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Another update now. Last week, APTN showed you a video of a violent confrontation between a woman and a security guard outside a FreshCo grocery store in Saskatoon. Today, that woman appeared at a press conference organized by the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has those details.
Annette Custer, the woman in the video, appeared at the FSIN conference but was too traumatized by the incident to speak to the media. Vice Chief Chris Job of the Prince Albert Grand Council says he's from the same community as Custer and he is glad someone recorded what happened.
Racial discrimination. When you watch that video, it traumatizes you. When my wife was watching that video, she started tearing up. Is this for real? We lost in touch within our inner human being.
Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations Vice Chief Heather Bear, who also works with the Women's Commission, says the excessive force is an example of the treatment our Indigenous women and girls face.
Now, this is not an isolated incident. This is an incident that occurs more often than not when it comes to Indigenous women and girls. The mistreatment, the abuse, the attacks, the racism, the marginalization.
Legal counsel Michael Seed says they are calling on the Saskatoon Police Service to investigate and look into charging the guard.
We are calling on the Saskatoon Police Service to take action against that specific individual, to lay criminal charges if necessary, but to seriously investigate Annette's complaint against the security guard.
The Saskatoon Police Service says that the incident is still under investigation. Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
South of the Medicine Line now, and the man charged in connection with the killing of George Floyd has been convicted of murder and second-degree manslaughter by a jury in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Derek Chauvin was a Minneapolis police officer when he held Floyd on the ground last May for more than 9 minutes during an arrest for counterfeiting outside a store. The incident was recorded and posted to social media, setting off demonstrations by Black Lives Matter and other groups. Chauvin was remanded into custody where he will await sentencing. Time now for a quick break, but stick around. There's much more to come. Welcome back. A First Nation near Northern Ontario's popular cottage country on Lake of the Woods has blocked road access for hundreds of cottagers. Wachagimis Bay First Nation announced last summer it was ending road use agreements. Now the association that represents those who have been denied access are speaking out. Daryl Stranger has more.
It's been nearly a year since cottagers in Ontario's Lake of the Woods area have not had access to the main road onto their properties. That's because Mackenzie Portage Road runs through Wachagimis Bay First Nation, and last July, the First Nation cut off access for 114 families. Now, the South End Road Association, which represents these residents, is calling for dialogue between the two parties.
We're also concerned about the future of our community. All we are asking for is a chance to talk to Wachagimis Bay and its leaders, a chance to understand what happened, fix any problems that exist, and to reach a new agreement that keeps everyone safe and allows us to return to our previous relationship with our neighbors.
The First Nation cited concerns of speeding and the amount of road use and guests coming in as reasons for terminating the agreements. The association, however, says that not having road access is a major problem should health concerns come up. Wayne Workington is a resident who traveled to Kenora by ATV over the ice. While there, he had a heart failure and was able to get to hospital. He says if something like that were to happen now, the situation would be much different.
If that had happened 2 days later, we'd have been stuck out here with no way out of here, and my wife by herself. It's hard to say what would have happened. But now we're concerned, we're scared for ourselves, my family, for the other families that are out here. If something like this happens at this time, things are going to get worse.
Residents currently have to come and go by boat from nearby Kenora, and in the winter by ice roads. There are roughly 200 or so property owners that are leasing the land from the band until 2047, and they have not been impacted by this decision. The association does not want to take legal action, but to open a line of communication with the First Nation once again.
First and foremost, I think we'd have to apologize. I'd like to say I'm sorry. And, go from there.
APTN reached out to Wachagimis Bay First Nation for comment but did not hear back. However, last year's spokesperson Marvin Sinclair Sr. said the decision was not up for negotiation.
I think we're at an impasse where we're just going to have to try and resolve this in a way that is. I know there's people out there that are singing the blues right now, and it's quite unfortunate that that's the situation. However, we are not the developers that made long-term commitments to these people about access. They should have been speaking directly to the First Nation.
Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
British Columbia has announced new travel restrictions that will come into place Friday. The restrictions are an attempt to slow the spread of COVID-19 as the province is in the middle of a third wave. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
This final stretch of the pandemic will be the most challenging of all of the many
Premier Horgan joined BC provincial health leaders at their weekly update on COVID-19 for the province. They announced new steps to reduce the strain on the healthcare system due to the rising numbers as the province battles a third wave. BC Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry says the province is up to nearly 1,000 new cases a day.
From Friday to Saturday, we had 1,027 new cases diagnosed in British Columbia. Saturday to Sunday, an additional 933 cases, and in the last 24 hours, 1,000 new people diagnosed with COVID-19 in British Columbia.
Travel restrictions will go into place this Friday and extend through May long weekend. They include signs posted at the Alberta border stating essential travel only. BC Ferries will stop booking anyone with an RV or a camper. Tourism operators will limit the bookings outside of health regions. People are asked to stay in their health district except for essential travel. Random police road checks and the power to issue fines for those traveling without reason.
So on Friday, Minister Mike Farnworth will issue orders under the Emergency Program Act to restrict people's ability to leave their health authority. This will be conducted through random audits, not unlike roadside stops for counterattack during the Christmas season.
BC Civil Liberties Association is concerned about the new travel restrictions. They told APTN their word Black, Indigenous, and people of color might be targeted in police stops.
Personal information too. We know that police will use like who people are with in a car or something, so that in the future they can say they're known to police or associated with certain individuals, and then that can come back to haunt them too, just having that on your police record. So there are so many concerns about this.
Premier Horgan stated they will be consulting with Black, Indigenous, and people of color community to address the fears of being targeted. He added that most people in the province are following the rules and want to see the end of this pandemic as the vaccines are rolling out.
The overwhelming majority of British Columbians get this. They get that we all have a part to play.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
Time to step aside for one more quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now to take a look at our photo of the day. And today's photo comes from our very own Sarah Connors. She captured this late night look at the Northern Lights as seen from Takini just outside Whitehorse, Yukon. Great shot. If you have a great photo, you can send it to share@aptn.ca and you can be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, +8 for St. John's, 17 in Halifax. 1 with snow in Nain, 2 and snow for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. 12 with a rain-snow mix in Montreal, -2 and snow in Chibougamau. 0 for Sault Ste. Marie, +2 with flurries in North Bay. 5 in Thunder Bay and Sioux Lookout. +5 in Churchill, 11 for God's Lake and Norway House. 12 and sunny in Barons River, sunny and 1 degree warmer in Winnipeg. 15 in North Battleford, 14 for Saskatoon. 6 with snow in Uranium City, 16 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, 14 and sunny for High Level, 12 with showers in Fort McMurray. 17 under the sun in Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, and Calgary. Sunny and 16 for Vancouver. 19 in Victoria and Penticton, 16 in Prince George, 18 in Smithers. -1 with snow in Old Crow, 11 for Whitehorse. +8 in Yellowknife, -3 with snow in Norman Wells. 11 below in Sax Harbor, -2 in Fort McPherson. 7 below with snow in Chesterfield, snow and 4 below for Cambridge Bay. -13 with snow in Resolute, 10 below in snow in Joe Haven. It's been a dream 40 years in the making, but a safe space for adult women and the 2S LGBTQ+ community is now open in Winnipeg. Brittany Hobson has more.
And then we'll just walk around the house, and I always do like the entrance.
Every morning before the doors open at Velma's house, Isabel Daniels smudges the space. This ceremony is repeated throughout the day.
The first thing we do, especially if they're upset, is that we light a smudge. We sit with them and we smudge with them, offer them some water, some tea.
Velma's house is a drop-in safe space for women and 2S LGBTQ+ people. The home specifically offers resources to adult women who may be experiencing homelessness, violence, or exploitation. Daniels is a program coordinator. For years, she has been part of a group of advocates who have pushed for this space.
2 of my sisters have died in due to violence, and in the wake of having, hoping to have a place like this, because if they had a place like this, we would have saved people a lot sooner, right? Or we could have had the chance to, provide safety for women who are escaping street violence, not just spousal violence, but street violence.
The home opened last month and is being run through Ganiganichik, a Winnipeg-based Indigenous organization. It's named after Velma Orvis, a prominent elder in the city. Daniel says Orvis gave endless love to anyone who needed it. She passed away last year.
And the woman really felt like it should be named after her for all of the efforts and the advocacy she did for women that were either entrenched in exploitation or homelessness or addiction. She provided supports and services for a lot of our women, even if they weren't sober.
Visitors can do laundry, take a shower, and access food and harm reduction tools. Staff use their own lived experiences to help guide the work.
Velma's House is survivor-led. It's all of our staff have either somewhat been have experience in exploitation or homelessness or gangs or addictions. It's Indigenous-led, and I think that it makes a difference in how we approach our people. Is because we know what it's like to walk in through those doors. We know what it's like to be that person accessing a space like this.
And I came here so I could focus on using my trauma and using my lifestyle experiences to empower other women and to let them know that there is hope.
Anisha Sadler is a support worker at the home. She's a survivor of street violence and a former drug user. With a solid support system, she was able to go back to school and has been doing frontline work since. She hopes to pass on that support to women at Velma's House.
I want people to build up their confidence and know that, they are good enough and they're worth it. I think so many times through our life we're made to feel like we're worthless, and that's just not true for anybody.
The space operates 7 days a week on a reduced schedule. They hope to be fully operational 24 hours a day by the fall. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Great to see Velma's House up and running. Award-winning filmmaker Alamaya Tailfeathers is our guest tonight on Face to Face. Her latest film, Gima Bipitsin, The Meaning of Empathy, is about substance use and the opioid crisis in Kainai First Nation in southern Alberta, Tailfeathers' home community.
I had also seen so many misrepresentations of our community in the media that were often framed through poverty porn or trauma porn lens, and what was sort of sensationalizing the crisis through a lens of tragedy, rather than showing the strength of my community and all of the hard work that was happening on the front lines. So it was really important for me to counter those narratives.
And you can watch that full episode of Face to Face with Alamaya in under 2 minutes time right here. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For more on these or any other story, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night.